Stephen. Great job. There are more essays from you today, so I'm really happy to see these. Okay, so you've got a task 1 and task 2, so let's get straight into your essays. Okay, traditional schooling. Let's see what you had to say. Some claim that traditional schooling fails to harness the child's innate talents. Although conventional schooling has, here, careful, it's singular, so this has to be singular as well, has, now also look at this. You said few merits. Few, though, on its own, has a negative meaning. If you want this to have a positive meaning, like there are several, then you need to have a few. Because few without the is saying basically almost none. Okay? So I think that's what you mean. I think you mean a few. Because then you contrast it with this expression. You say it negatively impacts the overall development of students. All right, so this essay will discuss this aspect using the example of Harvard studies and suggest a viable alternative to traditional schooling system, to the traditional schooling system. Okay. Even though traditional schooling enables students to clear doubt and be closely monitored in a classroom environment by teachers, rote learning is considered to be its major drawback. Okay, so I don't know what you mean here, to clear doubt. It's not really entirely clear to me what you mean. Rote learning is considered to be its major drawback, as traditional schooling focuses, yes, primarily on marked-based assessment. Students have to memorize, so get rid of this so, have to memorize concepts with an S to score better grades rather than understand. So they have to memorize rather than understand the subject. To exemplify, the recent studies by Harvard University, capitalize the U and its singular university, showed that higher grades in academics are not valid criteria for job selection in the private sector. There I am. Thus, it is clear that traditional schooling fails to develop basic skills of the pupils. Okay. E-learning is one of the alternatives to traditional schooling. This is due to the fact that the availability of technological gadgets with every individual and the internet enable, because you have two things. You have the availability of these gadgets and the internet. So it's two things. It should be enable modern educators to bring a paradigm shift to the learning process. I like that word. That expression, actually, paradigm shift. Students could access study materials made by the experts on topics from any remote place and view their sources multiple times until they master the concept. Through such platforms, platform active learning. Okay, fine. Synthesizing the sources and autonomous learning are encouraged that are useful skills required later in life to marshal any facts. For instance, on an academy website, okay, I don't know if, okay, maybe it's an expression that exists. I'm not really sure. I thought maybe it might need to be capitalized because it's a title. Not really sure. If it is a title of something, you should capitalize it. So anyway, on Academy website an e-learning, yes, an e-learning platform in India has enabled to reach masses, and 70% of its students fared well in Indian administration services in right here, Okay, so therefore e-learning is considered to be a better substitute for traditional schooling. To conclude, it is evident that the traditional schooling right here, harms students by underdevelopment of the basic skills, S, required in professional life. Therefore, here's what you need. You need a linker here. Therefore, e-learning should be adopted for the betterment of the student in this modern era. All right, it's a nice job. I like this essay for the most part. Alrighty, so let's take a look at your task 2. Actually, it's backwards. That was task 2, and this is task 1. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, let's see. I don't have a picture of it, but let's see what I can remember from memory. The pie diagram. Just call it a pie chart. So the pie chart depicts the proportion of money expended on 6 different sectors by the council of 3 counties in the UK in 2014. Okay, fine. In Yorkshire, the highest percentage of money expended by the council was on education at about 30%, and the second highest was on leisure with 25%. Also, the percentage of money expended on the other sector, it should be the other sector, and social services, plural, was about half of the expenses of community service, roughly at 10%. So now this is a little confusing because is it 10% for each of these? Or are you trying to tell me that Community service was 10%, therefore the other two are 20%. So really be careful with this kind of construction. Make sure that what you're referring to and what you're trying to say is clear. Okay, the least proportion of money had been spent. There's really no reason to use past perfect here. Just was spent is fine. On environment sector at about 5%. Okay. Regarding the council's expenses in Derbyshire, the topmost position was noted on in the leisure sector here. Where am I? I lost. Here I am, here. With almost half of the total expenses, whereas a quarter portion was spent on education. At the same period, the expenditure on community care was at 15%. The expenses of the environment and other sector were 10% each. Now, see here you did it, 10% each, so it was clear to me what you're referring to. Conversely, a negligible proportion was expended on social service. I like that. Turning to Lancashire, the percentage of expenditure on education and leisure sectors were the most top. All right, I'm not really a huge fan of this expression, we're the most top. We're the highest, is that what you mean? With a similar figure of 30% each, while the expenses on environment sector, social service, and community care and other sectors had an equal proportion of 10% each, is what you want to say here. I think that's what you mean. I have to look at the pie chart, but I'm assuming that this is what you meant here. Overall, it is interesting to note that the maximum money was expended was on education and leisure in all the counties in the UK. All right, this is pretty good for the most part. I mean, there were a couple little areas, but on the whole, I rather liked it. I didn't even have it in front of me. Usually, I do like to have the diagram in front of me, but I didn't, and I was able to visualize it, so that's really important. All right, so well done with these. You're really on your way, so good work. Keep on writing. Correct these, error correction list, and then send them back with your next essays. So keep on writing, and I will be looking forward to more of these from you.